Welcome to Everyday Linux User. In today's video, I am going to be making elementaryos awesome by using the awesome window manager. Now, some of you might know that I'm currently running a month on elementaryos, and it hasn't been plain sailing thus far. So things that I've had to swap out, I've swapped out most of the applications because I don't think they're fit for purpose. And what I've noticed in the past week or two is that it's the desktop environment that causes some applications to crash, for instance LibreOffice. So in this video, I figured I'll switch out the elementaryos desktop and install a window manager. And one I haven't tried before is the awesome window manager. And I watch videos by a YouTuber called linuxmensch, and he swears by the awesome window manager, although I'm sure he's got it set up in a much nicer way than I have. So today I'm going to show you the features of Awesome, why you may or may not like it, and I'm going to show you that it solves some of the problems that you get with Elementary in terms of applications crashing, and I'll show you a little bit about the theming as well. So you can see here, this is the Awesome window manager. I've changed the desktop wallpaper and I've customized the bar at the top a little bit. I haven't done too much on the customization. And what I will say from the outset is customization for Awesome isn't quite as straightforward. It's not too bad, but it's not quite as straightforward as i3 or Sway or Hyperland. I found that you probably need to have a little bit more of a coding background. Not much, but you know, I mean, it's got the word function and stuff like that. It's not just like key value pairs that you get in things like i3. So this is the desktop environment or window manager in this case for awesomewm, and you can see we've got all these numbers at the top, and these relate to different workspaces. So if we go to number 1, you can see I've got my simple screen recorder and a file manager open, and I'm recording this screen here so that you get a nice blank screen for my introduction. So there are various things you can do. First of all, if you just want to open a window, you can right click and you get a menu. Now I've customized the menu slightly, but this is the sort of menu you get, and you can scroll down, and if I want to open Chrome, I can open Chrome. Welcome to Everyday Linux User, the ultimate YouTube channel. And you can close the window using this icon up in the top corner like that, and we can do the same. And I may as well show you now how this fixes a problem I had during the last video, which is that LibreOffice wasn't working within Elementary when you're using the default desktop environment. So if I go in here and I open up LibreOffice, which I've recently reinstalled, the problem with the Elementary desktop is I can type the text here, and as soon as I hit this cross here, or I went up to File and Exit, it would crash. But now it doesn't crash. So that means there's a problem with the Elementary desktop environment when it comes to running LibreOffice. And the way around that, if you want to use the Elementary desktop environment, is to use only Office. I can't find a way to fix the LibreOffice desktop. I'm hoping there's an update coming that will solve that. But you can see that you can open applications, and it's quite easy. So I can right click again. So if I open up, for instance, Chrome, and I want to open up Gedit, for instance, gedit, you can see that does that, and you can see it's floating over the top, and you can snap the windows from side to side. So on the surface it looks like it's a floating window manager, not a tiling window manager, but that isn't entirely true. So if I close this down here, you've got this little icon in the top right corner. Before we start that, you saw in the last clip that I had to move the window out of the way to get the menu up. You don't have to do that. You can go to the top left corner here and you can get the menu here as well. So I didn't actually have to move the window out of the way to do that. So yes, you've got this little option here, and you can see if you hover over it, it says floating, but if I do that, you can see it's now tiling. So if I open a window, and it's worth bringing up the key thing here. If I do the super key and S, it brings up a cheat sheet showing you what keys do what for this desktop environment or window manager. So if you want to reload Awesome, it's Control Super and R, Shift Super and Q quits Awesome, and you can work your way down these. So for instance, if I wanted a terminal, it's Super and Enter, You can see it loads full screen. Now I've set up a key to run Rofi, so if I press Super and D, you get the Rofi menu, and I can, for instance, open a calculator. You can see it's floated over the top, but we can click these menus here, so like that, and you can see it's tabbed as well. So if I want to go to the calculator, so if I use the menu and I do that again, I think the Rofi menu makes it open floating. So if I open Chrome via the menu, like that, and then we'll open the calculator via the menu, it's still open as floating. But if I now click that, you can see it now tiles. So it's a mixture of floating and tiling in one. Now I've been playing with this for 3 or 4 days now, and it's sort of like a halfway house between floating and tiling, and I haven't quite got to grips with how to open it so it's always tiling. Now it doesn't matter if sometimes I get it and it's working perfectly, and you've got all these different options here. So you've got tile left, tile bottom, tile top, and all these other ones. So if I open tile left, for instance, calculator, it always opens them tabbed, but I want them to be tiling, so I have to click that. But you can see once it is tiling, you've now got them side by side. And the good thing about this sort of thing is if you've got an editor open and you want to look at something on the internet and then copy and paste, that's why tiling is a good thing. But Awesome gives you the best of both worlds. You can be floating or tiling. And now a lot of tiling window managers enable you to make a window float, but in this case the default option seems to be floating, and then you can make it tiling. The good thing about Awesome is that you've got a tiling and floating options, so it makes it different to things like i3 and Sway and Hyperland, etc. And it makes it different from OpenBox, because OpenBox is just floating. So you've got the best of both worlds with Awesome. If we look at the memory usage, I'm currently using 1 GB of memory, but this simple screen recorder is using quite a bit of that. We're up at 416 megabytes of that, so we're probably really talking about 500 megabytes all in. So if I go back to this window here, you can see I've got the file manager here, and if I do Super Shift and number 2, you can see that's not on the screen anymore, but if I go to number 2, it's there full screen. And if I want to just go to another screen, so I'm on screen 1 at the moment, I can press the Windows and 2 key, L3 key, 4 key, and you see the highlighting changes slightly, and that's all based on your theming. One thing I haven't got up here is a network manager, or to choose my network. I can add that in. I haven't done that yet, and I haven't done too much of the theme, but you can see I've changed the colours of the bar, made it the text slightly larger, and I've obviously installed the Rofi menu because I prefer that to the normal menu. The normal menu, if I do Super MP, is this. So I could type Chrome there if I want to run Chrome. So let's have a look at a little bit of the theming. So I'm going to open up a terminal window. Make the text slightly larger. Now I am in my home folder, and I can cd into my .config folder, and you can see there is a folder called Awesome. You have to create that yourself. So you could do make the Awesome, and that will create you your Awesome directory. So if you go into the Awesome directory, do ls. Now you can see there's lots of things in here. So there's the themes folder we'll get into a bit later, but the main file you need is rc.lua. So if I do sudo find you can see that there's an rc.lua file and an etc.xdg awesome. So if I wanted to create, I'm going to do this as a dummy exercise. So if I cd into dummy, I would do copy etc.xdg awesome rc.lua like that, and now you've got the rc.lua file in the dummy folder. So you can see I've done that already, and I've got this rc.lua file. So if I edit that, I'm going to do it in gedit. You can obviously do nano if you want to use nano. In fact, let's use nano. You've got all these things here. Now the Y box is the thing at the top. We've got the menu bar, which is this thing here. Various other things. But one thing I wanted to do is change the background. So if I go down here, you can see that line isn't there by default, the beautiful.wallpaper equals. There is this line here, if beautiful.wallpaper, then it will show the wallpaper that you've chosen. So what I've done is beautiful.wallpaper equals and then a picture on my drive. So that's how I changed the wallpaper. When it comes to keyboard shortcuts, you've got this global keys thing here, and you've got, it says awful.key, and then it's the mod key being your Windows key, and then the key that you want to press. So S would be show help, the left arrow view previous, right view next, escape, restore, etc. And you've got all these sort of keys here, so you can add your own ones in if you want to add in your own ones. And that's exactly what I've done at the bottom here. And what you do if you want to spawn an application is you use this spawn command here, so awful.spawn with shell, and you can see I'm using this to run Rofi. Now Rofi isn't installed by default, so if you want to install Rofi, you just type this command here, sudo apt install Rofi. If you want it on a Fedora, it'd be sudo dnf install zypper and then pacman. Use the relevant command to install applications, but that's how you would do that. And then within the Lua file, you just find the section where the keys are mapped. You're basically looking for global keys, and then you scroll down and then you add in your own one, as shown in this clip here. So that's a basic look at the config file. Now there are loads of instructions. There's a full manual on the Awesome website showing all the different commands you can use, and I'm not even going to begin to touch the surface on that. As you can see, it's not quite as straightforward as a key value pair or the way it's set up within i3 or Sway, but it's readable enough that most people can probably do it. So the next thing I want to talk about is theming. Now we'll come back to this later, but that command there is key. But I'm going to come out of there, and if I do an ls, you can see I've got a themes folder. Now that isn't there by default, so you're going to have to make the themes like that. And if I cd into themes, you can see there's a default folder. And then there's all this stuff there. So what we can search for is theme.lua. And this will tell you where the default folder is for awesome themes. And you can see you've got this one here, default theme.lua. So what you could do is, after creating the theme folder, all you do is copy -R, user share, awesome themes default, like that, and it will copy that folder, so that command there. You can of course copy any one of the other themes. So for instance, what I'm going to do now is sudo copy -R user share awesome themes. Let's do the sky one. Like that. Oops, spelled awesome wrong. Now I've got a sky theme. Now, just by copying it over, it isn't going to make that the default theme. So the default theme is still in default. So if I go into default, and I'll show you some of the things I've done, and the file you want to look at is this theme.lua. So if I do nano theme, you see these are where you set things like colors. So if you want to set the font to a different size, you see I've got it 12. I can make it 16 if I want to. And Control O saves. And I think it's Control Windows and R to reload. It is, and you can see that's much larger font now. But if I want to put it back down to 12, that's how you do it. And you can change these colors to anything you want them to be. So BG Focus is the window that's actually focused at this moment in time. BG Normal is the normal color. So if I make that like that, for instance, you can see it's made all the other things that's not focused, because number one is focused, a blue color. So like that, you see this is still the dark theme, but everything else is blue. Whereas if I do it this way, it's made everything else blue except for the ones that aren't focused, which is the darker color. And that's it back to what it was before. So you can mess around with these and change border gaps, things like that. I've added a few other things in here so that you get different title colors, etc. But that's all I've done. You can make the menu heights bigger and wider. So for instance, the menu you can see is quite wide at 200. I can make that 100. But now you can see it overlaps with each other, which is why I made it 200. And the menu height I've got as 15, so we can make that 25 if we want. And you can see that makes it larger. Actually, I quite like that, so I'm going to actually keep that. And all the different title bar icons and things like that come from these folders here. So it gives you the images for things like minimize, maximize and stuff, which is these things up here. So as I mentioned previously, if I go back to my rc.lua, you can see I've got this set to default theme, and so make sure you change it to get configuration dir and then themes default. So default gives me the default one, and you saw I changed it to sky. I installed a sky one. So if I put sky in there now, you can see I get a completely different menu layout like this. So you can probably get different themes that you can install. So you see I've opened up a web browser and I've searched for awesome window manager themes, and so we've got a GitHub page here. You've got Arch Linux forums, got this here, you've got some more here. So let's have a look, see what's in this one here. And there's quite a few. And it gives you the installation of how to do it. So let's take the risk and try this out. So we need a terminal, which I've already got here, and we're going to paste that in here. I haven't got Git installed, so let's install Git. So that was sudo apt install git. Now I don't normally recommend copying and pasting things off the internet. You see I've got all these ones here, so let's try one of these out. Let's go for rainbow. Remora. Oh, it didn't like that one. When it doesn't like it, it will bring that error, and it now defaults back to the default. Oh, I see what I've done. And that's it, working. But for now, I'm going to go back to the default one, which is my one. What you can see has happened here is, let's get rid of these because they're in the way. What you can see what's happened here is when it replaced my themes folder with the one from the Git thing, it's put the other ones into this themes backup folder. So if I go into themes like that, you'll see my default and my sky. So if I sudo, if I copy -r like that, we can do the same for sky. Got that back. I wonder if that now will work. And you see we've got my theme back. So hopefully you can see some of the things you can do to theme Awesome Window Manager. So what do I think about Awesome? Personally, I prefer using i3 or Sway, but I can understand what Awesome's given you. It's given you the flexibility between floating and tiling window managers. It is themable, it's lightweight, and importantly for elementary, it doesn't crash when you're running applications. So from that point of view, I'm 10 times better off than I was when I was using the elementary desktop. Now this isn't going to be for everyone, so my next video is going to be how to make elementary work for people who just like a normal desktop environment. So stick around, because that's what my next video is going to be. And that's it. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time on Everyday Linux User.